Yeah, hi everybody.
Yeah, hi.
Hello. Fantastic. All right. So we're going to start. My name's Sally. We're just waiting for everyone to join in. Welcome everybody. We're coming live from Italy. We're in central Italy, just north of Rome, in an area called the Sabine Hills. Just for those that haven't met us before. And this is Guido. My name's Sally. And this is Guido.
Nice to meet you.
Guido and I run a company called Convivio Rome. And so we've been running cooking classes for many years here. But first of all, what I'd like to do, we're going to be having, Chef Guido's going to have a conversation with James. Hi, James. How you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
Buongiorno tutti.
Buongiorno.
Buonasera, right?
Yeah, we got
It's this evening.
So what I wanted to first do is just show you a little bit of the view that we have from our home, because we're actually we're a little bit north of Rome in a beautiful area called the Sabine Hills. So I'll take you outside first of all, and then I'll bring you back in. Just 1 minute. So this is our home. Yeah, we're coming out onto the terrace. It's the sun. Unfortunately, the sun is coming straight in on us, but maybe I can get it at an angle that we're not. Okay, that's probably a little bit better. So if you can see, we've got mountains and olive groves. That's down here. And I'll bring you around. We've got a monastery called Fafa in the distance as well. There's many medieval hilltop villages. This is the front of our yard, and you can see all the olive trees that are here as well. And we've got a beautiful fig tree that's about to produce its second lot of figs. So we're coming to you live here. Sorry about the light as we go through. I'll bring you back into the kitchen. I just wanted to prove that we're actually here in Italy as opposed to anywhere else. Hang on a second. Okay, here we go. So Guido, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Just very briefly. I'm Guido, and I'm from Rome originally. According to my dad, I should be an 8th generation Roman. He was a 7th generation Roman. So I was born in Rome and lived there most of my life, really, so far. And I used to be a food editor for an Italian magazine. But about 15 years ago, we moved just north of Rome, this beautiful rural area that you've seen, the Sabine Hills, or Sabina, as we call it, a very ancient area of Italy, famous for its olive oil production. So here I began to run cooking classes and cooking holidays as well, short holidays, and olive tours and wine tours. So, and yes.
So what makes the olive oil so good there? Is there a terroir thing going on like there is with wine? Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. It's that. It's certainly the terroir. It's certainly the composition of the soil. The soil here in Sabine Hills is absolutely perfect for olive oil production, because it's very rocky, and there's quite a lot of what do you call that?
Rocky soil?
Yeah, rocky soil, but also sorry, I can't think of the word in English. Clay, that's it. There's a lot of clay as well. So these two elements are perfect for growing olive trees. Plus the main factor is also two types of trees you won't find anywhere else in Italy, and I believe anywhere else in the world. It's two native trees to Sabina. They're very ancient varieties. I would say they're almost semi-wild in a way. One is called Olivastrone, and the other one is called Raya. These two you won't find them anywhere else in Italy. And the Raya is the one that really makes a difference, because Raya produces olives that are round. They almost look like cherries. They look like green cherries. It's really strange, but that's how they are. It's very, very ancient variety, and it's sweet. So it's the only olive, as far as I know, that you can actually almost eat off the tree. You can pick it from the tree, and the locals here just heat up these olives in a pan, in a fry pan. Do the olive oil straight from the tree. So it means they're not too bitter, they're quite sweet. And this lightness is transferred into the olive oil. So it's just very, very specific varieties. And we have one of these two varieties of trees in the area, an ancient olivastrone, actually dates back to 2080 years ago. So that takes it back to ancient Roman times, before the Roman Empire, actually. So that's probably the reason why.
Sorry, Guido. I just wanted to say I forgot to mention just at the beginning that we've got everybody on mute, and if you'd like to ask a question, please write it in the chat, and then at the end we'll go through and answer every question that we can.
Absolutely, we'll answer questions.
If we don't have enough time to answer all the questions, we'll write it. In the Facebook, we'll answer all the questions for you. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, pop back out.
And also the other thing that's used here, not sometimes not really used in other parts of Italy, is what we call the early harvest. For us, early harvest of the olives is in October, late October, very early November. So that's really early. And the olive at that stage is still mostly green. So you have some olives that will be green, some will be almost black, some will be purple, because the olive is still maturing, so it's not completely ripe. So you pick it at the time you have the lightest flavor and the lowest amount of acidity. That's very important, because when you taste the olive oil, acidity translates into bitterness. So olive oil from Sabina is very mild from that point of view, very non-acidic and not bitter at all. So that's all these factors actually determine the lovely flavor of olive oil from Sabina. When you take a sip of it, your mouth stays clean. You don't feel any oiliness almost in your mouth, and you feel a little bit of pepper in just the back of your throat, which is typical of these areas as well. And but again, it never leaves you with a greasy mouth. So that's a fantastic thing about Sabine olive oil.
So I saw a question here. Do they do olive trees need to be stressed to produce the great olives, or is it just a matter of watering them and feeding them? And
yeah, just as you would do with wine. Yeah, because in a vineyard you actually look for a very hot period of time during the summer when you don't actually irrigate. I must say that olive trees don't need any irrigation. It's actually a good idea not to irrigate them, because if you don't irrigate them, their roots will get stronger and stronger, looking for their own water. The mother root of an ancient olive tree can go deep into the soil for 50 meters, which is unbelievable, just looking for its own water. So by not watering the tree, not irrigating, you actually make the tree a lot stronger. And so that's the method. Really.
I always wanted to comment that I have experienced what the Pulian people call olive dolce, where you just take the olives off the tree and pop them in a pan, and 5 minutes, and you just eat them. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I wonder if they're the same.
Yeah, oliva dolce is something different, because oliva dolce, yes, it is a milder type of olive. It's a specific type. We call it here in Italy Baresana as well, from Bari in Puglia. Puglia is the heel of Italy, and they're lovely olives, usually picked when they're green, when they're still green, but they're quite large, and it's a variety that's been specifically developed for eating. Really, you might have seen them around as well, because they exported widely. But it's they also quite mild originally, yeah, to start with. Also coming black version. I mean, they sometimes you find them black as well. These huge black olives, which they can be also pizza and stuffed with something. Could be breadcrumbs, meat, different things, herbs, and deep fried. And that's another story. That's a completely different level. And delicious, actually, those ones. So,
yeah. Okay, so we move on to food. What is, and we all kind of know maybe Roman food a little bit. What are some specialties about the food in the Sabine Hills? Is there particular dishes?
Yeah, there's a very strong connection between Rome and the Sabine Hills. They very much connected because a lot of ingredients that are used for instance, for the most famous pasta dishes in Rome actually come from Sabina. They're produced in Sabina, or this, I should say the Rieti province, which is Sabina is part of that, so next to Rome. So in fact, a lot of recipes that we believe are typically from Sabina are in fact originally from from Rome. In fact, originally from Sabina. We were just talking about this example of the pasta carbonara, which you know, might have wondered why it's called carbonara. Carbone in Italian means charcoal. So this was the pasta of the charcoal makers. The people used to make charcoal. They used to be up in the mountains, especially of Abruzzo. This is about maybe an hour from here. It's still the same province, and also at the border with Abruzzo. So these people used to be up there for 5 months of the year, really hard work, making charcoal out of wood. So they would spend 5 months in the woods, essentially, living in the forest, chopping down wood, building these huge wood piles, and burning, and smoking and burning the pile to be able to produce a charcoal. And then they would go to Rome to sell the charcoal. So it was really harsh work, harsh life. But they would sometimes take the whole family up there, or it'd be just the husband going up there and doing this. But they needed food that could be preserved for a long, long time. So they would take all this food, they would take their donkeys up there, and so the food would have been mainly the guanciale, which is the pork cured cheek, or pancetta as well. They would take the cured meats, the prosciutti, the salami up there. They would take a whole lot of dry pasta, of course, with them, and they would take their chickens as well. So they have eggs, guanciale, pancetta, which is dried bacon, and eggs, and here's the carbonara. So the carbonara is born as a recipe out of a necessity of taking this preserved food with you for 5 months out in the forest, and at a very high altitude. So we're talking about real mountains, and then taking it to Rome. So people in Rome started tasting this style of pasta, and then probably that's how it spread out. Maybe some of these carbonari, that's the name of the trade, really. They ended up opening up restaurants in Rome. So that's how, and kind of the idea spread out. And all this, the story I know from a friend of mine's dad, who was probably the last carbonaro in history. And but they, when he was young, used to be a proper carbonaro, making his own charcoal up in the mountains. And but then eventually just opened a little shop in Rome near Termini Station. I don't know who's been to Rome, near Termini Station, selling his charcoal to all the restaurants and pizzeria with the wood fire oven and all the grills, and they used to make quite a lot of money that way. So that was, but he wasn't making the charcoal anymore. But he told me the story, and that's why we call it carbonara.
So the movie Le Quattro Stagioni, did you see that? That's about the charcoal part of it's about charcoal makers.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah,
it's an intriguing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So other things that are different.
Yeah, the same thing for the Amatriciana. The actual name Amatriciana comes from Amatrice, which is a town around here. famous for producing this lovely guanciale, this lovely cured pork cheek, and also other recipes. Around here in Sabina, of course, if you're looking for recipes that are specifically from the Sabine Hills near Rome, there's certainly innate food that use a lot of marjoram. You'd be surprised to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of marjoram, fresh marjoram in their food, in their roast meats. There is quite a lot of barbecuing as well here in the Sabine Hills, especially to do with lamb, mutton as well. And also there's a pasta sabinese, which is a very simple pasta sauce with a little bit of tomato, not much, just a little bit, and olive oil, peperoncino, which is chili, and lots of marjoram and garlic, of course. So that's specific. And also the olive oil is pretty much used for everything. Whenever you think of used butter here in the Sabine Hills, they use olive oil instead. Baking, it's made with olive oil instead of butter. So yeah, that's quite typical from around here.
So do people still eat traditional foods? I have this idea that sometimes it's the Italians, they want something different, and it's the tourists kind of propping up the traditional foods because we all know what they are and we go to seek them out. Is that happening?
Yeah, I can see that. That's the process. I think Italians generally are quite a bunch of traditionalists when it comes to food, but there's been a lot of especially in city areas, a lot of restaurants popped up from different parts of the world, with food from different parts of the world, which is great. Especially younger people, the ones that would try more, be a little bit more adventurous. So yeah, it's successful. It's a combination of both, really. And then, but when it's time to have a big celebration and lots of families together and friends and family, then it's usually tradition pops back. And
yeah,
so
when I get together with my Italian neighbors, it's always like on a Saint's Day or something. It's just tradition, and it goes on for 4 hours. And
yeah, that's pretty much every.
Yeah, any place. Yeah, because I was in Puglia one time, and the woman, we were inside the restaurant, and I said, well, it's kind of all tourists, and she said, yeah, all the Italians are out there eating sushi on the seashore in sashimi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's a big thing, just because they've had enough of traditional food. But
yeah, it's new. Young people. Our daughter is almost 18, and she loves the idea of going out to sushi with her friends. It's just yeah, sushi. It started off in Milan, I think. It's the sushi thing.
Yeah,
and now it's popular all over Italy.
Okay, who has a question about food in Lazio or near Rome? Okay, the Jewish influence.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Right, we're going back all the way back to the 1500s now, but I'll be brief. Back in the 1500s, towards the end of the 1580s, there was a pope that was elected, and his name was Paul the Fourth, from the Carafa family, aristocratic family from the south, from Naples. He was elected pope. One of the first things he built the Jewish quarter in Rome, which is originally called Jewish ghetto. So he built walls and literally deported all the families that were living in all different villages around Rome within the Papal States into this confined space. So very crowded, very harsh conditions. Also, this Pope had a list of food that could not enter the Jewish ghetto. So the best food could not enter the Jewish ghetto. So what you could get at Jewish ghetto was, well, you maybe wouldn't get the zucchini, you get the zucchini flowers. No one cared about zucchini flowers, zucchini blossom. But we have them, we eat them today, so we know what to do with them. Another thing would have been the toughest artichokes. The only way to eat tough artichokes is to deep fry them completely. And that's how the famous Jewish Roman artichokes are born as a recipe. Everything is born out of necessity. So the Jewish people, enclosed in this very confined space, were able to create wonderful recipes out of the very little ingredients that they had, that they could get hold of. Even the, you can see a couple of you that have been to our cooking classes, we very often cook this, bake this lovely cake. It's a ricotta cake made with ricotta. Even the ricotta, in a way, is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of cheese making. So in the old days, today it's a delicacy, but in the old days, it was just a byproduct, really. So they could get ricotta in the Jewish ghetto, but not the real cheese. So ricotta cheese could be used. So they will make it into a wonderful cake. And the cake, the ricotta cake I teach is actually straight from the Jewish ghetto of Rome. So very, very strong influence, certainly. Plus other things, all the what's called the offal, all the bits and pieces that, you know, other people wouldn't really eat, they could get it in Jewish ghetto. So all the wonderful pasta with all these, even oxtail, the coda ravaccinare, all cuts of meat that were not really considered anything, really, just tough old pieces of meat would be made into wonderful recipes. Pagliata, which I'm not sure if I can describe what it is. Maybe not. Okay, I'll go for it.
Well, okay, so that's the lamb intestine.
Exactly, lamb intestine.
A milk-fed lamb that still has the milk in it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take it
absolutely.
out and make pasta.
Yeah. That also comes from the Jewish Roman tradition. So that eventually, when the Jewish ghetto was opened up, it was opened up in 1870. So the first thing that the Italy as a unified country did, one of the first things, once the Pope was defeated, they opened up the Jewish ghetto. And at that point, there wasn't any of that, any of those restrictions anymore. But then these recipes went mainstream, essentially. So very much appreciated and tried and eaten still today.
Okay. Anybody with another question? Okay. Anybody know about the edible dormouse? That's one I always bring up, you know, because it's the Romans used to fatten those up and eat them. But anyway,
I never heard that. First time I hear this.
Okay, I will send you the link to my site because I started finding those in Lazio, and they put them in this specialized pot under the soil, and they let them get fat but while they're still confined in this thing, I guess. And so it was just a very interesting bit that you know, if you wander Italy, you just you say, what the heck is that? And it's going to be something that's so bizarre, you know, and it sends you to Google and you get lost in it, you know, because there's so many good things that happen in the world, or bad things, depending on whether you like to eat these things or not. You know.
In ancient Rome, they used to eat the most incredible things, sometimes the most disgusting things. I mean, the things they used to eat in ancient Rome, we probably wouldn't eat today, except for a few exceptions. Yeah, there's a lovely.
People are coming back to that. I mean, you know, I just watched a show last night where people are eating squirmy things. Okay, could you discuss what you learned from grandmothers?
From my grandmothers in
Well,
general.
grandmothers, by you talked to tutte le nonne in your area.
Yeah.
And what did you learn?
Fresh pasta making from scratch. I learned it from there. I learned it from next door neighbor. And she's now Lena, I think she's 85, 86. 86. And she taught me how to make pasta just with a rolling pin and just eggs, flour, and a rolling pin. So I became very passionate about it and started teaching. Signora Lena used to teach that part of the cooking lesson years ago. Then she stopped because she didn't have a very good back, so she decided to stop doing that. But I took over and and it's a skill that is disappearing. It's a dying art. Because not many people want to spend time to use a rolling pin, and it's quite a labor-intensive thing to do. But certainly that, and yeah. So that was the most important thing I learned from a nonna, definitely in this area. From my own nonna, I've learned. My nonna was actually from Genova. From my mother's side, they were from Genova, which is a town. Beautiful city, actually, in northwestern Italy, in Liguria, in the Riviera, halfway through between Cinque Terre and France. It's a port. It's been an ancient republic back in the Middle Ages, so it's already in the Middle Ages. It was very cosmopolitan as a place to be. So the recipes are very interesting. Pesto is from there, so I learned the perfect pesto from my grandmother. She was making it all the time at home. And also the focaccia as well. There's this lovely focaccia from Genoa. It's fantastic. The use of chickpea flour, which is very unusual in Italy as well, in certain dishes and certain, again, baked focaccias and all that. So that's definitely the influence there too.
Okay. We really like puntarelle. Are there other vegetables and greens that we don't see frequently in the United States that you have there?
Okay, well, first of all, the puntarelle is actually a type of chicory. It's a type of chicory, Catalonia. We call it Catalonia chicory. That's the name in Italy. And you essentially you eat because it develops very thick stalks. You just with a knife carve out the heart of it, and then it curls up. As soon as you put it in some water and lemon juice, it just curls up, and that's what we call the puntarelle. So it's from there. It's lovely and fresh. We also have the agretti. Have you ever had agretti, James?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
we have it quite frequently in Tuscany. Yeah.
That's another great vegetable that so I introduced Sally to it. First time that I brought it home, Sally thought it was just grass. So are we eating grass?
Well, it's a marsh grass, right? So it grows in salty marshes.
Grass, yes. Technically it is. But it's lovely with olive oil and lemon. So with olive oil and lemon, very nice. Yeah, and then of course we use a lot of we use traditionally in Rome and Lazio, we use a lot of wild vegetables and herbs as well. So that's what we like to use. And of course the chicoria and dandelion is very common. The wild one is very much sought after, which is different. It's a lot more pungent, less bitter than the cultivated one. So if you go to a market, you sometimes find the wild version of it, where people actually been out picking it out in the countryside. But of course I pick my own. I just go out, and it's one great passion I have is foraging. So I do a lot of that, and that's very typical. One of the simplest things in Rome is the panino con la cicoria, which is a bread roll filled with with this chicory or dandelions that have been previously sauteed with olive oil, garlic, and a little chili. That's all.
Mm.
And just put that into
Yeah, I like
a
that,
bread
yeah.
roll, and that's your snack.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, of course, the broccoletti. The broccoletti is already something that is cultivated, so it's quite common. I think broccoletti or broccolini, I think around the world is kind of picking up. It's more well known, I would say. They're all from the broccolini is from the brassica family. It's the same family as, it's a cabbage family. So same family as broccoli, name it, cabbage, kale. It's all one big family. We had out here in the countryside, we had the wild version of that. So I'll pick that during the winter. I don't grow broccolini because I just get the wild version of it. So it's easy.
Yeah, all my Tuscan neighbors, go out there and forage like crazy as well. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
it's just
There's
they've
other
been doing
things
it
as
for all the
well.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the spring, yeah, absolutely. In the spring, you can pick wild asparagus, which are to die for. And they're just fantastic. There's a lot of competition though. You need to get out really early in the morning to be able to get a bunch of them, but they're just unbelievable. You can eat them, you don't need to cook them, you just eat them with some lemon and olive oil. They're just delicious. They're thin, they're not like the cultivated asparagus. If I can't find those at the same time of the year, I'll go for the hops, and we have wild hops growing next to rivers and creeks, and you can just use those as if they were asparagus. Just pick the tender new shoot and cook it up and fry it up with some olive oil and garlic, and they're delicious too. Yeah, so
That's what I like about Rome and Lazio is everything is pepper and garlic and olive oil, and so
absolutely,
it's a very vibrant cuisine.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel Tuscan cuisine is just regular, normal, and you go to Lazio and you get this stuff that just jumps out at you.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of vegetables just end up in a big fry pan with olive oil, garlic, and a little pepper, a little chili, sauteed at very, very high temperature for a very short time, and that's it. It's always ends up like that, and it's a perfect vegetable side dish for anything, even just a slice of nice cheese, pecorino cheese, or that could be your barbecue meat or your sausages or anything like that. It could be just dinner.
Okay. Are the local herbs or fruits of Lazio used to make any aperitivi?
Aperitivo with the fruit.
Is it
Yeah.
like
Antipasto, yeah, antipasto. The two classics of course, when you are in season, in Rome and Lazio, when it's the fresh fig season, a classic one is simply just fresh fig and a slice of prosciutto wrapped around it. And that's really to die for. As an alternative for vegetarian people, if they don't want to go for the prosciutto wrap, they can go for some Parmigiano or Pecorino, strong Pecorino, and that would be a perfect antipasto. Of course, the classic also melon and prosciutto as well, prosciutto e melone, this time of the year when it's the summer. So that's menus. Also pears. Sometimes, you know how the French tend to eat cheese at the end of a meal? We actually use it for our entree, for our antipasto, at the beginning of the meal. So you might have a really nice mature pecorino cheese with some sliced pears and a drizzle of honey on the cheese as well. So it's a great entree, very fresh for your summer.
Mm. Typical pasta shapes. Are yours any different than anyone else's? Is there?
Okay, there's a pasta shape from the Sabina area. It's actually called stringozzi or strangozzi. They are in a way a type of square spaghetti, really. So they like spaghetti with a square section, and you prepare them by making and this is egg pasta. You make your pasta sheet, but you keep it a little thicker than usual, thicker than you will make for your fettuccine. But then you slice very fine, so that way you get this long and spaghetti essentially, which are not round in section, they're square. And those are called stringozzi. They're delicious. And then there's another type of pasta that we made in one of our live sections, way back on Facebook, which I call pizzicotti or cecchini, but cecchini is more in the Viterbo area. So you drive half an hour and there's a different name for the same type of pasta, but over here they're called pizzicotti. Pizzicotti means pinching. So it's essentially pasta dough, just flour and water, very simple. And then you just pinch a little bit of it. You make little snakes, and then you cut up this little pasta shape the size of chickpeas, essentially. And so that's fun pasta to make as well. Doesn't require a lot of time because you're not making, a full, really thin pasta sheet. And it goes really well with fagioli, with beans, pasta and beans, pasta fagioli. Very, very good with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are.
Here's a good one, but it's not about Lazio, so maybe I'll answer it. Okay. Your opinion of making pesto in mortar and pestle versus food processor, and I've had the opportunity to actually taste the difference where somebody has set up a demonstration, and really a food processor whacks it so fast that I think the heat really does it, and especially for real pesto, which is made from very special kind of basil, and just you wouldn't believe you can whip it to a froth in seconds in a mortar. It's just so tender. Yeah. And so you have to treat it that way. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the basil you use. It is basil from Genova, so Basilico Genovese, big leaves. And this is the one I cultivate for pesto, and it smells wonderful. And I absolutely agree. The pestle and mortar is a great way of making pesto, for it takes a little bit longer. You need a stone mortar and a wooden pestle, because that way you can really, with a wooden pestle, will be a little bit more gentle on the leaf as well. So it's wood on stone, and the stone's supposed to be, the one I've got is from Carrara. So it's real Carrara marble, but left really rough inside, so not polished or anything, not worked into a sheen. It's really rough, and that way you can grind all the ingredients really well. So you put your basil, your pine nuts, your garlic, a little bit of garlic, so it's not much, it's only half a clove of garlic at the most for a big lot of pesto. And what else you put in? Your supposed to be half pecorino, Sardinian pecorino in theory, as a quantity, and half Parmigiano. But you put that at the end, not in the actual mortar. And then you start grinding with the help of crystal sea salt. So, so the sea salt is actually chunky, and that gives the process a nice grind. And also salt helps the leaves keep their color as well. So they salt actually is one of the things that it does, kind of prevents oxidation of the leaves. So instead of ending up with pesto that looks brownish, which would be fine if it just doesn't look good. With your salt in there, just keeps it nice and green. Yeah, and when you do it with a food processor, of course, if you're in a hurry, you can do it, but it's not the same because the temperature goes up and up and up in the food processor. There's one trick I always tell people if they really want to do it with the food processor, you leave the blade, take out the blade, and leave it in the freezer for a number of hours. That way, it will be super cold, and at least you prevent the pesto from heating up too much. So I won't spoil it that much.
That's great. I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
Because I do it here in California. I actually use a hand blender.
Yeah.
So pesto. So I'll try that. Okay. So this is a question for me. I like that. What's the quirkiest Italian food tradition or dish in Tuscany that you've embraced that you might not have heard of? And I would have to say chiodo di maiale. Do you know what that is? It's so when I make the salami, I watched my neighbor make salami one time. They make the salami, and as it's raw, it hasn't been cured yet. While they're making it and they have lunch, they take a testa, which is a terracotta tile that goes right into the fire, and they put the salami in there. Put a little bit of salami in there, and so it's like a hamburger. It turns out like a grilled hamburger, but it's the salami, and then everybody that's helping with this process tastes it, and that it can tell you how the seasoning right and all that. So that's, I don't know if that's quirky. It's a very good tasting thing, but
yeah.
But it's rare. It's good, but you only get it at the time you're slaughtering pigs. So it's it's December.
Your place in Tuscany is quite. It's on a high. It's quite a lot of altitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that explains a lot of that. A lot of this, really, production and curing. Everything is so much better when you've got the altitude, lower temperature, dry air.
Right.
Fantastic. I was Sally and I just went for a few days to join up with some friends that live in an area of Abruzzo that's borders Lazio, and it's near the town of Amatrice. And there's a mountain lake there. It's called the town is called Campotosto. Fortunately, greatly damaged by the latest earthquakes. However, there they produce their own dry sausages, salami, and all that with a specific technique. They have snow 8 months of the year. The lake freezes, actually. It's a frozen lake up there during winter. So they come up with this idea. So it's ideal for curing meat, but it's so cold sometimes in the cellar. If the temperature goes down to -20 or up to -25, it's too cold and the meat will freeze instead. So they have fires. They have fireplaces in the cellars, and traditionally they keep the fire going during the process. It's like the best of virgins in Rome, keeping the sacred fire going. It's the same thing. And so what that ends up meaning is that the meat cures, but also when you eat it, there's that tiny little bit of smoky flavor. And it's absolutely delicious. It's unique. It's a specific technique of that area. But that's common in.
It's so amazing. All the areas have those kind of little quirks, and the food tastes a little different, even if it's the same thing that you're used to. It's a great thing. Just go around the rural areas of Italy, and that's what I like to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, fascinating. Yeah.
So another question is there a story behind cacio pepe? What's the history?
Well, cacio pepe is really out of the same tradition. There are these pasta recipes. They're all in the same league. Amatriciana, carbonara, gricia, and cacio e pepe. There's 4 types of pasta that you start from the richer version. It's like it's really the same recipe made richer or simpler. So the 2 ends. So you have the amatriciana, you got your tomato, your guanciale, and your pecorino and pepper. So you got 4 ingredients. A variation of that is the carbonara. There's no tomato in the carbonara. The gricia takes out the tomato. There's no tomato. There's no eggs. Just guanciale, pepper, and pecorino cheese. So you're getting closer to the cacio e pepe. Take out the guanciale, the meat. All you're left with is cheese and pepper, and that's cacio e pepe. So it's a simplified version of all the others.
I was thinking of someday doing these kind of diagrams that show that, you know, because you can go from oil and garlic to oil, garlic, and pepperoncine, and you know, and just keep adding stuff. And
absolutely, we keep saying the pecorino cheese has, and we're talking about real pecorino from Rome, pecorino romano, the cheese, the one with the black rind. It's got an amazing ability to behave, and you want it to behave, especially in terms of when it melts. It usually tends to melt, if everything goes well, into a nice cream. And you try that with Parmigiano Reggiano, it doesn't really happen. So, so that's why you use it for certain recipes. You want that creaminess in your sauce.
So here's one, the seasonality of food culture in Italy. We don't have that much in the United States because we just get crappy stuff all year instead of having these times when it's really good, you know. And it's true. We have, you know, these tomatoes are just getting, I mean, you could break a molar on them. Okay, the celebration at the moment, I remember we have a lot of sagras in Tuscany, and sometimes there's for things like onions, and you think, how many onions can there be? How many places to grow onions can there be?
Yeah.
Every little town because you're in the mountains, there's this little space where onions really like to grow, and you can get you can have fantastic little tarts of onions, and you could say, "Wow, this is an onion," you know. It's fabulous. We have specific beans that are grown in a place. It's a small town, like 800 people, and around that town, you can grow cranberry beans that have almost no skin on them. They're just so tender. So it's not just seasonality, but it's these tiny pockets of places that are just exactly where things like to grow, and it's pretty special to learn about all those things. And every time I go back, it's a new thing. You know, you discover people sitting at these big outdoor tables eating just big onions. You know, just in their hands, eating onions because it's the perfect time and it's the perfect place to grow them. It's
exactly
pretty,
which in Italy would be the summer. Would be around July, August to the harvest.
Sagres. But you also have Puntarella, which kind of comes before spring even. So it's like that. Let's wait for that because I like that a lot.
There's something, and you get it for 4 weeks, and then it's gone. You can't have any other time of the year. So it is very seasonal. And although even here in Italy, you can find tomatoes in the winter. No one really wants them. You can see that, you know, in the winter, the section of, you go to a market, or usually a market wouldn't even have them, but you go to a supermarket and the section of tomatoes, it gets smaller and smaller, because if you really want tomatoes, that's what they are. They, you know, obviously greenhouse, during the winter, greenhouse grown, but okay, but there's no flavor. So people actually don't mind waiting for the good ones in early summer. And same thing, yeah, fruit is the same, you know. You look forward for, you know, to, I don't know, having your apricots in, it will be in June, your cherries in June, your right now it's all about peaches and all that, your figs in September, and so on. And then you start with apples, oranges in the winter. You don't have oranges. We don't consume oranges in the summer. It's just the way it is. It's a winter fruit.
Yeah, I remember it in Sardinia when I worked there. There would be big trucks coming around at the end of tomato season, and I would go up there. I was feeding like 12 people, so I'd ask them for 10 tomatoes, and the guy would look at you like, "You're nuts, right?" Because everyone else was buying crates of them to pack for the winter. Or to sun dry, you know, and the whole town came alive because there wasn't anybody that wasn't cooking tomato sauce, and there wasn't any horizontal surface that didn't have drying tomatoes on them. And so they just gave me the tomatoes because they weren't worth it to even charge me. And then I like that. I mean, I like that there's a season, and it annoys so many Americans when they can't get something all year round. But I like looking forward to different foods. You know?
It's with our guests, we always discuss that very much, and I realize how people, especially younger people, don't really have much of a clue when something is in season, when things are in season. So
you come to Italy, and that's taught you right away. I mean, you know. You ask for putonella in February, and they look at you like, "Well, I know it's on the menu, but you idiot, you're just not going to get it."
It's like artichokes. I mean, because it's such a big thing in Rome with artichokes, people find them at restaurants when it's not the season for artichokes is between February to April. When it gets to April, stop buying them because they just get tough. You know, I don't buy them in May, but during the summer in Rome and Rome restaurants, because that's one thing that they sell very well, they start importing them from other countries, from the other side of the world. I don't know, but they're just not the same. Not the same flavor. Yeah.
So do you use saffron in your cooking?
Sometimes for the classic risotto alla milanese. Really, but yes, I do. Actually, in this area, saffron used to be grown, I've been told. Up until maybe 60, 70 years ago, I used to grow saffron more in the mountainous part of our region.
Yeah, in Tuscany too. Yeah, I just can't afford it. So
it's expensive.
Yeah. But more and more people are taking it up. Right here in California, right next to us is now a saffron farm. So it's coming back, I think.
I know some people in New Zealand, they're growing saffron there. Some guests that came a few years ago, and they sent me a sample of their new harvest. Fantastic, very strong. I never had any saffron like that before. So picking up.
Okay, so Susan grows saffron in Ohio.
Oh, really? Wow.
Okay.
It's not easy to grow it, as far as I know. Not an easy thing to grow, and you need the right climate as well.
Could you please tell us how to season a marble mortar before you use it for the first time?
Sorry, mortar.
Mortar. Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think I did anything to it when I started.
I didn't either.
Maybe a little olive oil, just to make sure. Just to make sure that there was nothing. I just use a little olive oil in a cloth, in a clean cloth, just to make sure that there wasn't any residual little bits of stone or anything like that, because the models are actually they made out of one piece of marble, so it's all ground in. That's all. And then I just started using it from day one.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I've just done. I've just used it.
yeah.
The good ones in Liguria for the pesto, they tell me. I mean, the pestle is the wooden pestle is shaped specifically for that mortar, and so it's all an artisan process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting the timeout signal. Does anyone have any questions that really need to be answered? Okay, well, it's been really enjoyable talking to you guys. And I hope we can do this again sometime.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks to Chef Guido Santi and Sally, his wife, and she's going to maybe talk about free stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much. We've got a special package for you if you're interested at all. It's a free Italian cookery package, and we'll get James or ourselves when we put this video up on our Convivio Rome Cooking Holidays Facebook page and also on James's page. We'll put a link to it, so you're very welcome to come in. It's got, you do you want to tell them?
Yeah. Well, I put together a little PDF booklet for you with 5 pasta dishes from Rome. They're traditional and only take 5 minutes to prepare. And you got also, I put a video, like a little tutorial video on how to make carbonara, a traditional, super traditional carbonara pasta. And there's a little chart. It's a fresh herb chart, and how to use Italian herbs, and just a mini video on knife skills and chopping onions as well.
So it's a nice little package that if you want to, it's a complimentary package. So if you want to take part of that, you just we'll give you the link, and you just you can get it off, and it's available forever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little gift
no time limit on it, which is really good. And of course, if you next come to Italy, please come and visit us, because we're running in the Sabine Hills. We're running cooking holidays and cooking days, cooking holidays, 4 and 5 day cooking holidays, and we've got day cooking classes that have excursions to the medieval villages as well. We've got wine tours and olive tours, so we've got everything. And
and right now, because obviously we're aware that not many people can travel, we will also put together some virtual cooking classes done with the Zoom, so they're interactive, like we're doing today, and also a little membership club as well, which is called Guido's Cook Club.
And that's a lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun.
So you're welcome.
Okay, grazie tutti.
Grazie a voi.
Grazie.
Thank you so much.
It was lovely. Thank you very much, everyone, for turning up. It was wonderful to see you. I recognize some of you too.
Yeah.
It's really nice that you could join us live. So thank you very much. And hopefully we'll be talking more with James in the near future. So thank you for joining us.
Grazie. Thank you so much.
Ciao. Ciao tutti.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.